Hello, everybody, and welcome to the From Poverty to Progress channel, the only channel that's dedicated to promoting an awareness and understanding of progress. My name is Michael Magoon, and I'm the author of the From Poverty to Progress book series. The first book is already available. It is called From Poverty to Progress, Understanding Humanity's Greatest Achievement. The second book will be coming out later in 2023, and it is called Promoting Progress, A Radical New Agenda to Create Abundance for All. If you're a new viewer, I would suggest that you start out with the Intro to Channel playlist. If you stay tuned to the end of this video, there'll be a free book giveaway. Today's topic is about how progress worked. In a previous video, I explained what I believe are the necessary preconditions for progress. Those are the 5 keys to progress. I'm not going to talk about that in this episode, so you'll have to check out the other episode. For now, I want to explain how that process works. In other words, once a society has established the 5 keys to progress, then all these other factors will come into play, and they will all interact with each other to create material progress for most people. So, what are those factors? Well, first of all, there's technological innovation. It is almost impossible to conceive of human material progress without technology and without innovating new technologies. And by technological innovation, I mean not just the radical innovations such as the printing press, the railroad, container ships, or mobile devices, but also incremental improvements to existing products. I mean, think about a typical product like a refrigerator. If you look at it over time, they have been continually increased in both quality, in energy efficiency, and the cost has continually declined. That is all being driven to a large extent by technological innovation, as well as differentiation of existing products. For example, there's not just one kind of bike. There are many different kinds of bikes. There are mountain bikes, there are road bikes, there are racing bikes, and each one of them is optimized for a different task. But technological innovation is not enough. Technology cannot exist without human beings who have skills that are able to use them. Otherwise, they're no more useful than a rock sitting on the ground. For a technology to exist, you need people with skills to use them, to conceive of them in the first place, to build that technology, to be able to test the technology, to troubleshoot it, repair it. And with more advanced technologies, you need to know how to package it, distribute it, market it, finance it, train users how to use it. And there's a whole host of other skills that are related to each technology. The problem becomes that there's only so many skills that any one individual can have. So what people do as there's more and more technology and that technology becomes more and more sophisticated is people tend to specialize. They become good at one skill or a cluster of related skills. So what that means is as the technology gets more and more numerous and more complex, people have to specialize more and more in order to use those technologies effectively. So that creates a problem. As people become more specialized, it becomes even more important for people to cooperate together for a common goal. And in order to do that, they cooperate within organizations. Now, there are all kinds of organizations. There are political organizations, there are economic organizations, there are religious, there are nonprofit. But particularly for economic growth, the corporation is one of the most important. And what corporations do is they knit together people with a wide variety of skills and the technologies that they have the skill of using to accomplish a common goal. Without that cooperation within organizations, we wouldn't be able to make most complex technology at all. So as we get more and more technology, more complex technology, and people have to specialize more, you start to get more and more organizations. Unfortunately, there's simply not enough resources to sustain all of those organizations. So what that does is that effectively forces organizations to compete against each other. Now, in the past, in the distant past, they competed against each other for food. Today, organizations typically compete for revenue. Another factor in how progress works relates to copying. Now, we think of copying as a bad thing a lot of times, but it really isn't. Innovation is intimately tied to copying, and it's essentially you copy what works. You copy successful technologies. You copy successful skills. You copy successful organizations and practices within that organization. Copying enables new things to spread from where they were first invented to other places. Copying enables the original invention to be spread to new cities, to be new nations, and across the world. And finally, progress involves the consumption of vast amounts of useful energy. Without energy, none of the other factors could happen. Energy is necessary for human survival, and it's necessary for modern societies to function to generate progress. Today, over 80% of energy comes from fossil fuels. Most of the rest comes from nuclear and hydropower. To make things even more interesting, all of these factors interact with each other. Essentially what happens is once a society gets the 5 keys to progress, it fundamentally changes the incentives that people have. It's no longer a struggle for survival just to create enough food to eat. Now people have the incentive to go to work, to innovate new technologies, to learn new skills, to earn more money, to cooperate together more closely with coworkers, to form new organizations, and above all, to copy what works. At the same time, organizations have the incentive to invest in research and development because they're competing against other companies. If they don't invest, they won't be able to create new products that help them maintain their profitability in the future. They also have the incentive to adopt the latest technologies, to hire workers with the latest skills. They need those new skills within the organization, so they either have to hire the workers with those skills or they need to train their own workers. They also need to encourage a healthy organizational culture so that all the people within the organization are united to work together to compete against other organizations. They also are forced to listen to customers and give the people what they want. They have to adapt to a changing market and, above all, copy best practices. So when the 5 keys to progress are established, the society essentially transforms into a vast decentralized problem-solving network where people voluntarily cooperate together to solve other people's problems at scale. Then individuals and organizations can choose which of those solutions work best for themselves. Now, it's important to understand that all of these factors that I outlined before are instinctive human behaviors. They weren't created when the 5 keys to progress came about. They have been part of humanity ever since modern humans evolved. At the same time, none of these factors are completely unique to humans. For example, in terms of tool use, we have beavers make dams, chimps use sticks in order to acquire food, and birds build nests. They also have the skills in order to use those tools. Humans are not unique in forming organizations. Birds flock together, lions form prides, and fish form schools. So organizations are not unique to humanity, but the complexity of our organizations are unique. Those organizations also compete against each other. They compete against other organizations within their own species and other species. Copying is also not unique to humans. Many mammals copy their mothers so they can learn additional behaviors that are more useful for their specific environment. And finally, all animals need to consume energy in order to survive. So none of these factors are completely unique to humans, but human beings take each one of these factors to such an extreme that under certain conditions, i.e. when the 5 keys to progress evolved, they are able to create progress for their own species. And this is something no other species has ever been able to accomplish. And these behaviors have always been a part of our history. There's nothing unique about humans in the modern day in terms of their ability to innovate. Humans have always innovated. We innovated stone tools. We innovated wagons and plows. Now, the rate of innovation in the past, particularly during hunter-gatherer times, was dramatically slower than it is today. But those innovations clearly have taken place throughout human history. Humans have always had a wide variety of skills. Humans have always cooperated in organizations, for example, the family or in hunter gatherer bands. And those organizations have always competed against each other, sometimes peacefully, but let's face it, much of human history has been about violent military competition between societies. And humans have always consumed energy, both in the form of food to eat, but also in the form of burning wood. So where did these behaviors come from? Well, to be honest, we really don't know. I think it's safe to assume, though, that some of that behavior is encoded in our DNA, but it's also very clear that it's been modified substantially by culture. So humanity has always had these behaviors for how progress works. What's different is in distant past, we did not have the 5 keys to progress. So all of those behaviors just led to slow change with no direction. In other words, there was no progress. But once the 5 keys to progress evolved, these behaviors led to progress. It enabled people to focus on problems other than getting enough food to eat. So, where do you go if you're interested in these topics? Well, first of all, I would suggest going to my website, frompovertytoprogress.com. With a free email subscription, you get free ebook samples, free audio samples, and discounted prices on ebooks and audiobooks. If you insist on paying full price, you can go to Amazon, or if you're a bookstore or library, you can go to Ingram Spark. You can purchase ebooks, paperbacks, and hardcover versions of my books. If you prefer audiobooks, you can go to Amazon, Audible, and iTunes. I also have a library of online book summaries on topics related to this channel. So you made it to the end. Now it's time for the free book giveaway. The giveaway is a digital copy of my first book, From Poverty to Progress. Here are the contest rules. First, you need to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Then you need to join my website, frompovertytoprogress.com. You need to leave a constructive comment on this episode. Exactly 1 week after this video is published, I will randomly choose one commenter. I will post the username of the winner in the community tab and ask that person to email me. You must email me within 1 week. After I authenticate you, I will then email a link for the free download. Well, I hope you enjoyed this episode. See you next time.